I'm going to show you how easy it is to set up Atavism Server for MMO development with the Atavism Server Docker, and how easy it is to develop server-side code. So I'm going to follow the instructions from the README here. For this video, I have all these prerequisites set up, so I'm going to just dive into it. So the first thing we need to do is check out the repo. So I'm going to open my terminal here in my projects folder, and I'm going to run git clone and clone the repo. Fantastic. I'm going to go inside. What's the next step? The next step is to download the Atavism server zip and Agit files, which I already have, but I have to put them into the archives folder. So let's do that. Here I have the Atavism server zip, so I'm going to put it in the archives folder of the repo. And here I have the Agit source code, which is the source code that will be available to you with your license, where you can change your server. So I'm going to put in the archives as well. And the next step is to set up my email and Atavism license key in the environment files. So I'm going to do this right now as well. I believe I have a command saved up in here for this. Exactly. So I'm copying from a template, which is located in Docker Compose Development env example into Docker Compose Development.env. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to open the project now in Visual Studio Code to show you how the environment file looks like. Here's our project right here. You'll notice that when you open the project in Visual Studio Code, if you have all the prerequisites in the Java server going, it will start compiling the project right away, create a couple of folders. This is something you can mostly ignore for now. So go into Docker Compose Development, and the env file has been already created because I just opened it in Visual Studio Code. If you're not opening in Visual Studio Code, it won't be created immediately, and you will have to copy environment example into .env. But for me, this was created automatically. So in here, I'm going to put in my email, and here you need to put in your license key for your Atavism server. So I'm going to pause the video now to do this. So I just got my license set up and my email and my env file. So the next step, let's take a look. It's to run Gradle w dev up. So I'm going to open Visual Studio, open a new terminal. You can also do it in this terminal here, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to run Gradle w dev.up. So the repo is doing a couple of things. It's compiling all the jars for the Agit files and running the Docker setup. Now the repo still has a little issue where the starting of the service is not synchronized. So usually we also need to run dev restart right before up to make sure that everything connects to the database correctly. This will be fixed in the future releases. And everything is up. Now I'm going to look at my Docker logs. So the repo created a number of containers. There's a separate container for each database, a master service, and a world service. Master service is the authentication service. So let's just double check that it's working correctly. And everything in here seems to be working fine. One thing I'm seeing is that I didn't set up the SSL key, which is fine for now. So I'm going to take a look at the world now. And you want to look for this message done initializing. This has already happened here, so the server is ready to go. So now I'm gonna look at the next step. Now I just need to connect with my Unity client to the server. So let's do that. I'm gonna open my Unity client and start it. Now this is a brand new setup. So there's no accounts yet, so I'm going to create an account. And log in. And here I am inside. Now the other cool thing I want to show you here is also how easy it is to develop with this setup. So I'm going to create a new Aegis plugin, which is a server-side plugin that has a new message that comes in from the client, and I'll show you how easy it is to modify it. So there's a couple of helpers that you can use in here. Let's look at the repo here. Creating a new plugin. All I have to do is run this command, gradle new plugin. So let's go to Visual Studio. I'm gonna paste it here, and now as a property I'm passing a plugin name. That's the name of the plugin that I want to create, and just run a new plugin. So I'm gonna create a superhero plugin. This is created now. I got also an instructions here telling me that I can create a new message. This has created a new plugin under source plugins superhero, and it created boilerplate Java files, the client file and the plugin file. Fantastic. However, I also want to create a new message, so I'm going to utilize this helper here, and it's going to be a message for the superhero plugin, and I'm going to create a message from the client saying shoot laser from eyes. And this has generated boilerplate code for me for registering a new hook for the message and the message itself to be used. Cool. So now to make this route of the server, I can do two things. I can either run Gradle w dev reload, which is one way of doing this, or, which is much more convenient, I can just save any of these files, which triggers the dev reload automatically from VS Code and the restart of the server. So this way you can easily develop. I just created a new plugin, so just to be safe, I'm gonna actually restart the containers. However, in a minute I'll show you an example where I'm not restarting the whole containers and just basing myself on the auto reload from VS Code. Okay, the servers got restarted. Let's just make sure that our authentication server is correctly working. That's fine. And the world server has booted up. It looks like not yet. But the one thing that should happen now is that in these logs in here, we will now see, or I guess it is bloated up. We will now see a log file specifically for my new plugin. It's still loading. There you go. Done initializing. But in this log files in here, we will see a log file specifically for my new plugin called Superhero Log. These log files you can also find under Atavism Server, Logs, World, and the name of your plugin here, which in my case is Superhero Log. And a superhero error log. There's no really errors in here. One thing that I know, and this is useful, is that right now the server is running on a logging level that will not let me see very well what's going on. For example, my superhero plugin in here has an on activation info message, and on receiving a client message call with the log message too. Now it's with info level, and by default the Atavism server doesn't run with such a low log level. So I want to change it. So let's do it. I go to world.properties, which is an Atavism server bin, and in here I'm going to change the log level right here. Save this. And this is a good opportunity to again restart the server. Now with the more verbose log level, we will see a bunch of messages in our logs related to our new plugin and the new message. Already here I can see that the Atavism server has launched my superhero module. So this was hard to look at, so let's take a look at the superhero file superhero log directly. And as I scroll through this, I can see that at the bottom there are messages related to activating the superhero plugin. This is my log message, superhero activate. That is here coming from the boilerplate. So now let's take a look at the repo. I created the new plugin with a new message, restarted the server. The last thing you need to do is trigger this logic by sending a message from the client to the server. So I'm gonna go into Unity. I'm gonna go into VS Code and I'm gonna open my Unity project. And in here I have specifically a place where I was working on some code, and I already actually was testing this before, so I have a bunch of code that does this using the client API write to make it verbose that the message was sent out. But this is basically the boilerplate code that you want to use to send an empty message. The one thing to notice in here is that I put in my content of my message right here, or the title of my message, superhero shoot laser from eyes, like so. This is the same this is the same formatting of a message that we got from the helper message. So in my setup, this happens when I press dot. So let's go into the client, run it, log in. Fantastic. And I'm gonna press dot, which opens a little window I was working on here. But most importantly, it sends a message. I get a little log in here that I was logging. And let's take a look at the server logs. My superhero log. And here is shoot laser from eyes triggered, which is the log message that I have here. So this is how simple it is to set up a new plugin and set up a message in a plugin that comes from a client. Now something that's really cool I want to show you is modifying the content of a plugin. So I'm going to turn off the client. In the plugin in here, I'm just going to say shoot laser from eyes at the X-Man. And all I have to do is just save the file. And the reload automatically starts. It registers the plugins and all the messages in the server, and it restarts efficiently the server as well. So just to make sure that everything went smooth, I'm going to check the authentication server. Everything is fine here. I'm going to check the world server, and a restart is still being performed. I have a hard time typing in here. I'm going to press my dot and inspect my superhero logs. Shoot laser from eyes at the X-Men. I'm going to do this one more time to show how cool this is. And the X-Men fight Wolverine and hit save. And everything is building and reloading, everything is registering. Now almost most of the time, if you have a client running, it will lose connection to the server, as this does cause the world server to reload. Yeah, I clearly had a typo somewhere there. Let's just call him superhero this time. I'm gonna press dot and inspect my superhero logs. And here's X-Men fight Wolverine. Let's say Storm will hell and reconnect. Press dot. My updated message here is received by the server. Now let's add another message. So I'm going to use the same boilerplate, and this time I'm going to add cast shields. This generates new code in the superhero plugin. It registers a new message, a new hook. Here's my new message right here. Sorry, right here. Cast shields triggered, and new client code. And this is all now it's also generated automatically the boilerplate code required for the Atavism server to register this new message. So I'm just gonna save this plugin. It's gonna cause a reload. I'm gonna disconnect my client, and I'm just gonna change the source code in my Unity to trigger both of those messages at the same time. So this is one message, and I'm gonna have another message right here. When I generated the message, I got this helpful information, which is the boilerplate needed to send this message from the client to the server. Save my client. Unity will recompile. And let's start. Now both of the messages should get triggered. Let's go into the superhero log, and at the bottom I got cast shields triggered right here, and also my shoot laser from ice was also received. So this is how easy it is to work with this repository. I believe this is gonna be very helpful and awesome for developing MMO games with Atavism.